Maldives is one of the most beautiful and picturesque island nations on the planet, home to luxurious and insanely expensive resorts priced at thousands of dollars or more per night. But did you know that there's an alternative side to the Maldives? One in which you will experience local life and culture, and that won't set you back a small fortune. Well, last year, we traveled to the Maldives independently for almost 2 weeks, spending time on small local islands. And it only set us back just a few $100 US each. And today I'm going to show you exactly how you can solo travel the Maldives and not spend an absolute fortune in the process. The Maldives is an island nation made up of over 1,100 islands. And of these islands, approximately 130 are private resort islands. And these are the typical islands that you think of when you think of the Maldives. The overwater bungalows, the cocktails on the beach. But the problem is, staying on one of these islands will set you back a small fortune. Fortunately, of the 1,100 or so islands that make up the Maldives, nearly 200 are inhabited local islands. And although some of these islands will probably lack the luxurious accommodation offered on the private resort islands, some of these islands can be visited and stayed on by tourists. The first place when choosing and booking a place to stay in the Maldives is to choose an island. And there are so many local islands to choose from. We stayed on Rashtu and Dangeti, but another popular option is Mafushi. There are honestly dozens of accessible islands to choose from. So I would just recommend doing a little bit of research around what you want to experience whilst you're in the Maldives. Be it whale watching, diving, beach hopping. Each island is better and more known for different things. After making a decision on an island, the best way to find accommodation would just be to use booking.com or Airbnb and see what's on offer. We found that both of these websites had mostly the same options on each island, but it was worth comparing because some of them offered lower prices than others. The accommodation on these islands is mostly small guest houses run by small local families, so there is some variation between some more basic stays and some more luxurious stays, depending on your budget. Obviously, the bigger and more populated the island is, the more accommodation options there are on offer, and the smaller and less traveled islands are going to have less accommodation options. When you arrive in the Maldives, you will arrive into Malé International Airport. Malé is the capital of the Maldives, but if you are not here to see a big city, then you'll most likely want to get straight out of the airport and hop onto a speedboat to one of the islands. Luckily, the speedboat terminal is literally right across the street from the airport and is right in front of you as you walk out of the door. However, if you are headed into Malé, there is also a bus stop here, and it takes around 20 minutes and just a couple of dollars to get into the city. To get to your chosen local island, you will probably get the speedboat, but there is also the option of getting the seaplane if you have a little bit more money. You can also get the cheaper and slower local boats to some of the nearby islands, but it takes much longer. It will cost less, but it will probably take a whole day to get to some islands as opposed to like an hour and a half or two. The speedboats cost around $40 to $50 US and upwards, depending on how far away the island is. If the island is further away, it will cost more. The seaplanes cost at least a couple of $100s each way, and again, they cost more depending on how much further you're going. The boats can be really choppy if the weather is bad, so if you're thinking of going during the wet monsoon season to save a bit of money and you don't like riding in boats, maybe think twice. Usually, the bigger the boat, the more comfortable the ride is going to be. And your guest house that you book on the local island will book your speedboat for you. It's actually really hard to book it yourself, and it's much easier just to message your guest house and tell them what time you will be arriving, and they will book the speedboat ticket for you. Usually, the speedboats go 2 times per day to each island or area. And once you get to the island, getting around is basically just walking. There are usually no cars on each island, and most people just use bicycles or walk to get around. When you arrive at the port on your island though, your guest house will probably come and meet you with some kind of like wheelbarrow or trailer, and they will take your suitcases for you because the roads are generally very sandy, so it's hard to wheel a suitcase, but your guest house will come and help. So the activities available on these local islands are generally the same as the ones that are available in the resorts. However, on the local islands, there is usually more options and more companies to go with, so more dive shops, more guest houses. So the activities are generally much cheaper on the local islands than they are in the resorts. Of course, some of these activities are diving, snorkeling, whale watching, shark watching, fishing, beach hopping, local island tours, visiting sandbars, coral reefs, basically the same things that are on offer in the resorts. There is usually a coral reef somewhere on the local islands, and if there isn't, your guest house can take you to a nearby coral reef or a sandbar or something for just like $20. So something unique in the Maldives is the Bikini Beaches, and these are the beaches on the local islands where the tourists can go and not cover up, basically. So because the Maldives is a fully Muslim country, you can't wear a swimsuit walking around town on these local islands. And of course, it's different on the private resorts because these are tailored for tourists. So every local inhabited island with guest houses on it that caters to tourists will have a bikini beach. And this is exactly what it sounds like. It's just a free area of beach with sun lounges and like volleyball nets and stuff on it where you can wear a swimsuit. And your guest house will tell you exactly where the local bikini beach is, and you can tell where it starts and ends because there'll be loads of signs and there'll also be a fence around it. You can also usually do water sports from here, but you can't wear a bikini anywhere else other than this beach, so you must bring spare clothes or a sarong or something to cover up with on the way to and from the beach. So because the Maldives is a fully Muslim country, that also means that there is no alcohol available on these local islands. On the private resorts, you can get alcohol, but that is because, like I said before, they are catered to tourists. So on the local islands, there is no alcohol at all. So in terms of food, the thing that we ate the most was tuna. And I ate tuna breakfast, lunch and dinner every single day we were there. And because there's not a lot of land in the Maldives, that means that there is not a lot of meat available. Most places will sell meat, but it will come from elsewhere. So we weren't really sure how good it would be. So that's why we stuck to tuna, because tuna was always fresh and always delicious. Both of the guest houses that we stayed on had breakfast included for free. So we only went out for lunch and dinner. And on both the islands we stayed on, there was a number of different restaurants available to eat at. And surprisingly, the meals were very reasonably priced, actually. I think most of the meals that we got, like I said, we ate tuna, so that was definitely the cheaper option. But most of the meals that we got were between $3 and $5 per meal. So these local islands do obviously cater to tourists with guest houses, restaurants, and also some souvenir shops. The islands are usually very small though, and there is maybe a couple hundred people living on them, and everybody seems to know everybody, and there's a nice little community feel to it. Most people on these islands come from just a handful of families. Some of the more populated islands obviously have schools on them, mosques, and even like gyms and stuff. Like I said, all of the food and the supplies and stuff is shipped in from elsewhere, so it comes on boats, and sometimes it will come on the speedboats with the people. So the best time of year to visit the Maldives is in the dry season, which is between January and March. The monsoon season generally extends from May to October, with April, November and December being like transitional periods with a mixture of weather. Accommodation prices are obviously much higher during the peak season of January, February and March, but this time of year also offers the best opportunity to experience the calm, clear waters and the numerous excursions that are available. We visited in February, and although there were some clouds on some days, we didn't get any rain and the weather was mostly very lovely. So that sums up how to travel to the Maldives independently and on a budget. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Please leave a like if you have, and check out our channel for other travel content.